What's up, guys? I'm Terry Schwartz, and I'm here with Simone Missick from Luke Cage, Misty Knight herself, who we invited over for some coffee.
For a little bit of
this
coffee.
lovely morning. Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, we are going to get into full spoilers because I feel like I've earned it binging the first season over the first weekend that it's out. So if you haven't watched it yet, get out of here. Come back when you have.
Yeah.
Now, you actually, I mean, you've filmed it all, but you're
Yes.
sort of appreciating the binge process yourself.
I am. Yeah, I'm only on episode 7.
What has struck you the most so far as you've watched the season, now that you're seeing the finished product?
Oh, one, as an actor, you really anticipate looking at yourself and going, God, that's horrible. So for me to actually be proud of what I did, it's a great feeling. But mostly, I'm just amazed at how everything is so well put together, from the acting from all of our fellow actors to the music. Ali Shaheed Muhammad and Adrian Young just did an amazing job with that score. And then it's got the humor and the sex and the passion and the wit and the history and the culture. And it's just got so much to it that you can watch episodes repeatedly, which I recommend, and catch other little things that you didn't catch before. So it's great.
Now, we talked a little bit before we started filming about how the first episode, to me, it was really about introducing yourself into Luke's world,
Yes.
meeting Cottonmouth, meeting Mariah, meeting Misty. But to me, episode 2 was the episode where I was like, oh, I love Misty.
Oh.
Like, I love it. And you were talking, that basketball court scene
Yes.
is the one, to me, that really clinches it, where you're like, this woman's got it. Like,
Yeah.
she is a power player. Talk to us a little bit about that scene. Apparently, you are your own
Stunt woman.
Yeah, your own stunt woman.
Yeah.
You played basketball, so that was
Yeah.
all you.
It was funny. I read the script, and I remember I was at home, and I just remember praying, like, God, how did they know? And I show up at the table read, and they didn't know. They were like, oh, Simone, we can get you a stunt double. We've got this really great girl, and she can coach you if you need it. And I was like, okay, sure, sounds good. So we show up on the day, and first take, I nailed the shot. And the director yells, cut, and everybody just goes insane. They're like, what? They couldn't believe it, because nobody knew I could play basketball. So they all turned to our DP, Francis, and they're like, did you get it? Did you get it? And he's like, no, but I got Frank. So that close-up on Frank that didn't make it, that's what Francis got on the first shot. But then I proceeded to make a couple more.
I always
like
wonder
another
when I
20.
see those sequences, because it's like coming in from out of frame. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're just really well timed dropping
Yeah.
it in, but that was all you. That
Well,
to me, that blows my mind.
What was great, because I thought the same thing. I was like, guys, you're setting me up for a fail. You didn't show the whole shot. But then at the end of the scene, they show 2 or 3 more shots.
Right.
Where you can see that I'm actually shooting the ball. So
What you need is someone who actually was on set filming that shot
Right,
of you
right.
getting in
Just
proof.
that. Yeah.
Now, Misty gets her share of action scenes beyond that, and especially towards the end of the season, her arm gets shot in the middle of one of them. And the second that happens, I was like, wait, are they going to do the metal arm?
Right.
And they even sort of set it up. Like, Claire has a comment where she's tying it up, and she's like, the nerve
This
damage.
isn't gonna last.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you didn't end up going there this season.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the will they, won't they, playing with
Right.
that? Was that just an Easter egg, or do you think it's setting up more to come?
I think it's probably going to set up more to come. I think it was a great kind of teaser for the fans, because everybody wants Misty to have that arm. I've never seen people want me to lose an appendage more than this character. They're like, chop it off. So I think that they wanted to play with that and give people, the hint, will it happen, will it not? But I think they want to see what the extension of that is. I mean, historically in the comic books, Iron Man gives Misty the arm. We don't know who's going to give it to her, but I think that if they had set it up in that first season, it would have just been too soon. And what's interesting is I had no idea if I was going to lose it or not.
At that point in the script? When you got
No,
it?
because they, at this point, they're just like, here's your script, you're the actor, you just wait and find
Right.
out. And so I'm reading it, and I'm like, man, it's already happening? And they have me dying on set, green, falling out, and I'm like, it's gonna come off. And then that next episode, they're like, nope.
She's in a sling, she's
Misty
fine.
took some really heavy duty painkillers and she's fine.
Now we know, I mean, Misty started off as a cop in the comics as well, but she grows into being her own superhero. She and Colleen Wing are the Daughters of the Dragon. You know, they're their own crime-fighting duo. In what I love about season 1 is that through Misty, you know, as we're dealing with these conflicts, these really relevant and conflicts that we see in real life of, you know, stop and frisk and people being racially profiled, we get the cop's perspective as well. So talk to me a little bit about your hopes for taking her on like a very human hero journey to maybe a more superheroine journey.
I think in this first season, it's great. You get to see all of this vulnerability from Misty. Yeah, she starts out strong and badass and self-assured and confident and cocky. And then you see just this really interesting journey and all of the things and the people around her that cause her to question herself and where she's going and why she's doing the things that she does and why she feels so passionately believes in a system that doesn't work necessarily for her in this situation. And I think it allows for you to see a human side to her. I would love for us to then see, you know, her backstory similarly to the way that we see Luke's backstory. And all of that can honestly be up to the creation of the writers because we don't see it in the comics. You know, you meet Misty when she's a detective and you see her become this bionic woman and this badass and this, you know, Daughters of the Dragon, but you don't see, you know, well, what was Misty's childhood like? And, you know, how did she start playing basketball? So I hope that, you know, if we get a season 2, then we can see that, you know, come to the fore. Because I think people love Bionic Arm Misty, and that will be tons of fun. But it's the reason why we love Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, because we know where they came from. So.
Now, we sort of end season 1 where we entered it with Misty. You know, she's back in the club. Now she's keeping an eye on Mariah instead of Cottonmouth. But great Easter egg to comic fans, she's in that full comic getup, which looked amazing.
Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about, first of all, getting in that costume for the first time, but also, what do you think, why was it important to end Misty, not only in this costume, but in this place? What do you think it's queuing up for her journey, for what's to come?
I think it definitely is setting us up for her stepping into that full power, you know, bionic arm badass that we know that she will become. And that was such a wonderful collaborative, if that's a word.
It is.
It's still early, moment, because the writing said one thing and it was specific about the writing. And then the designers had another idea and I had another idea. And when it all came together, it was that. And no one anticipated. I mean, I had a visual. I had the comics that I had looked at and I said, I think we should go for this look. And they were like, yeah, but how can we execute that? You know, it's not like there are a ton of just red, you know, get-ups just lying around in Bergdorf's in the middle of the winter. So they had to like create that look, and everybody who worked hard on that look, from Giselle Modeste, who was the hair designer, to Lazan, who was the makeup, to the ladies, Stephanie and Sharon, who did costumes. Like, everybody was so dedicated to nailing that look, that for it to come together the way that it did. And Cheo was so passionate about it because there were some other looks that, you know, didn't quite work. And he's like, that's not it, that's not it, that's it. So when it all came together, it was like, yes. And so for the fans to feel like, is this it? You know, you feel like all the nitpicking was worth it.
Now, we know that you're going to be in the Defenders, and obviously people who've read the comics know that Misty and Iron Fist are sort of one of the main power couples of the Marvel Universe, I would say. Are you hoping to get to explore that? And, you know, can you tease whether maybe we'll see you pop up before Defenders even? I might get you into trouble with that.
You know, I don't know if I'm going to be in the Defenders. That is, you know, that's a rumor.
I think you started that rumor.
Did I start that rumor? I was probably sleep deprived.
Yeah, pre-coffee.
Pre-coffee. But wherever I show up again, I think that relationship is definitely one that I look forward to exploring, just because it was so important in the comics. It was one of the first interracial relationships. Nowadays, it's something that we take for granted, you know. we all know someone who's biracial or who's married to someone who's not of their same race. And we're like, yes, this is the way the world is now and it's welcome. But back then it was so important that seeing that relationship up on screen, not just for the political, but for the visual, it's something that people can identify with. And also, it's Iron Fist and Misty. Like, forget the politics of it. We want to see them get it in. And so it'll be fun.
Well, it's funny too because obviously Luke and Danny Rand are great friends in the comics, but you guys start off Luke Cage season 1 with one of the I would argue the sexiest sex scenes in the MCU.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, bravo.
Well, I will take
because
that
was
all me. No Mike.
No Mike Coulter.
No Mike Coulter. He had nothing to do with it.
He was just standing around.
Right.
Do you foresee that tryst causing any trouble
coming
in the
back
future?
to bite her?
Maybe. I mean, it already sort of did.
As if it hasn't already, right? Yeah, I'm sure that'll be like a, hey man, how you know Misty? Well, we had coffee,
Yeah, we still.
I think but that's life, How often do we see that in our own lives, where you're like, oh wow, you guys are friends, huh?
Well, I mean, Matt Murdock and Luke Cage are going to have that same
they're going to have, I mean, it's 6 degrees of Luke Cage on this show when it comes to dating. Everybody's dated Luke, so it's going to be interesting.
I really appreciated the direction that Misty and Claire's relationship went, though, because there could have been a little bit of, jealousy or just some tension, but I feel like they immediately saw that they were two women of like minds. Talk to me about growing that with Rosario Dawson and what you found most rewarding about that storyline.
I really fought to make sure that there was none of that, weird cattiness. I mean, she's a great human being and a person as an actress to work with. So it's always interesting, like even with Mariah, with Alfre Woodard, it's like, God, I love you so much. Now I hate you because the cameras are on, you know what I mean? So that was already something that you kind of have to distance yourself with when you're acting. But I think that it is so easy for women characters to fall into that kind of trope, into that, oh, you've got the guy, I want the guy now, we're not going to like each other. But they're adults and they are about something bigger than just a man and about something bigger than just, jealousy and envy. And so it was great to have these two women characters come together fighting a greater good without being blinded by what I think men tend to think we are blinded by. They think that, oh, they're dating, they don't have a brain anymore,
Right.
So it was great to be able to work with her on that.
Yeah, the nice thing about the Marvel shows is they very much show that the ladies maybe have the smartest, situation going on.
We got it together.
Now, before I let you go, one of the most fun Easter eggs at the end of the season was sort of connecting Claire and Misty yet again. Yeah. Claire grabs this flyer for martial arts classes with Colleen Wing, who we know Daughters of the Dragon is one of Misty's best allies, and who is going to be played by Jessica Henwick in Iron Fist. So obviously, I know we can't get into actual things, but are you excited to hopefully get the Daughters of the Dragon together? Have you met Jessica? Is that something you're looking forward to build on the show?
I haven't had a chance to meet Jessica yet. I loved her on Game of Thrones. It's my now second favorite show. But I loved her turn on that show. Again, playing a strong, kick-ass woman, And so when I saw that she was cast, I was like, oh, this is great. Oh, wow, what does this mean? Like, what can this potentially mean, And it was so exciting on my part. I have no idea what they're going to do. I know that the fans are very, vocal about their desire to see a Daughters of the Dragon own their own show. Who knows what Marvel and Netflix are going to do? They don't tell us anything because they know that we'll spoil things.
How are your deals set up, though, if you can talk about that? Because obviously John Bernthal sort of got the first spin-off with The Punisher, and obviously people are very invested in seeing, well, what's Daredevil 3, 4, 5, Jessica Jones 2, 3, etc. But how is it built in? Like, is Netflix able to say, well, there is enough interest and we have it already in your contract that we can build out this spinoff?
I know from my contract specifically, it was mainly Luke Cage and the potential for crossovers into other series, but they don't tell you what those will be.
Right.
Just
or how
because
big
they
the
know.
crossover is.
So even with Luke Cage season 1, they were like, well, you might be in 6 episodes. I was like, okay, yes, I get to do 6. And every episode I was like, I'm in this one too. Until you end up being in all 13. And,
Right.
and her character is, you know, it's her own storyline as well. It's not just this kind of annex to the Luke Cage story. And so for that to be the first season, sign me up for whatever they end up doing.
So you're on board. You're on board for Misty Knight and Colleen Wing spinoff.
Totally on board.
Well, good. We're gonna grassroots campaign it and make it happen.
Make it happen on Twitter.
Simone, such a pleasure to have you
was
in.
great
Misty
meeting
Knight is such a fantastic new addition to the MCU. I can't wait to see
Thank
more of her.
you.
For all things Luke Cage and Marvel, keep it here at IGN.